Welcome to a bonus episode of Compass Points, brought to you by CompassKnox.com. Please like and subscribe on your favorite podcast provider and tell your friends about us.
Our guest this week is Phyllis Nichols, who is retiring after a long career as the CEO of the Knoxville Area Urban League, 22 years, I believe, and we wanted to check in with her about what she's seen over the years and what she sees moving forward. And Phyllis, welcome.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Jesse, for having me. I know we've talked many times, but this is a new subject, retirement.
I know it is, and especially because you've been synonymous with the Knoxville Area Urban League for a long time. I believe you worked at the Urban League for 30 years. And
yes. I came to the Urban League in 1994 on a 12 to 16 hour week contract to develop a workforce curriculum under the Clinton administration, and it was called Welfare to Work. And so I remember one time going home, and I've probably been at the Urban League maybe 24 hours that week, and my husband said, I thought that the contract was 10 or 12 hours. And I quickly realized that I was doing something that I wasn't looking at how long I was doing it. I got immersed in the work. And as a former educator, I realized that for people to re-enter the workforce, they had to be trained, and I loved working with adults and developing the whole partnerships. At that time, so many nonprofits or whatever did work in silos because we didn't know that you would increase your impact if you worked together. And so part of my job was to connect all the ancillary services that people coming to the Urban League would need in order to return to the workforce, like childcare and transportation and work clothes and training and medical tests. I remember this from long ago. In order to go to work a long time ago, you had to have a TB test or a chest x-ray. I mean, we think about that now, but it was a requirement. And if you were poor and untrained or not familiar with how to get to work, how do you know how? And so that was how I began, is connecting the Urban League with all the other services, because one agency doesn't do it all. Now, it's such a commonplace thing for organizations to work in collaboration and for you to do what you do best. And so I think that what I have been very privileged to see is the connecting not only with the Urban League, but how our community has aligned to provide services.
Well, and could you, because I feel like the Urban League is one of these institutions that people have certainly heard of and are aware of, but sometimes when something's been around as long as it has, people don't necessarily actually know what it does. Like how would you define the mission and purposes of the Urban League?
Right. So one of the things that used to just get me, I mean, I had to learn to, take a breath, because people would say to me, and they still do it now, I've heard of the Urban League, but I don't know what you do. The Urban League is 112 years old in the United States of America. At one point, we had 124 affiliates all over the country, even in Anchorage, Alaska. Today, the Urban League has 92 affiliates in 35 states and the District of Columbia. Within the state of Tennessee, we have urban leagues in Memphis, Nashville, Chattanooga, and Knoxville. But yet in Knoxville, people thought we were a lone organization that did a few things for Black people. And so one of my goals as the leader of this organization was for the community to understand that we are indeed a historic institution that started in 1909 and helped African Americans as they were migrating from the agricultural or agrarian South to the industrial North. And the Urban League was founded for this very reason. If you'd always worked in farming or whatever words I don't want to use, like plantation or whatever, and you went and there were opportunities for employment, if you've never gotten a job, how do you apply for a job? And if you had to learn those skills. And also, as you migrated, there had to be housing. And that there were services that the Urban League provided, first in New York City, and then all across the industrial Northeast that happened and that became the basis of this historic institution. And we call it an institution because I have the privilege of sitting in the seat for a short time. Although my tenure has been longer than my previous 4 predecessors, I hope I didn't stay too long at the party, but it is an institution. It's an institution that is recognized throughout the nation. And my goal was to make sure that Knoxville appreciated the history and the impact that an organization like the Urban League has, but also our national network. We're not just a small nonprofit. We are part of a national movement to help historically underserved people move to economic self-sufficiency. And because we're a huge network, we have the support and we have resources and training that lots of nonprofits don't have. A big part of who we are is because of the support that we've had from our national organization and the collegiate work that you have across the movement. If I'm doing something here in Knoxville and I have a question, I can call my sister organization in Chicago because they've already done it. Or I can call my organization in Baltimore or numerous places across the country to get support and help. And because we are a movement, we are not in competition. We are in concert. We are moving together. So that's one of the best things about Urban Leagues is the network and the movement that we represent.
One of the things that that you emphasized was helping individuals obtain the skills they need and to get jobs, move into the economic mainstream. One of the recently, a lot of the discussion surrounding that has kind of shifted, at least in my awareness, to wealth building, and talk about how. First of all, is that a faulty impression of mine? But secondly, talk about the difference between helping an individual get a job and helping families build wealth.
Thank you for that question. It's the one, cut me off if I get too long, because it absolutely is paramount to what we are trying to do. The Urban League is a HUD certified housing counseling agency. We were the first nonprofit in the state of Tennessee to earn that designation in 1974. We were first focused on fair housing, and we also addressed redlining. The Urban League works to remain relevant. So what we did training people in 1968 when we first started in 1988 and 98 is not what we do now. And around housing, we know two things. the easiest way for a family to start accumulating generational wealth is through ownership of property and homes. And we know that because of the great foreclosure crisis of 2008, African Americans, followed closely by Hispanics, lost the family wealth and equity that they had put into being homeowners. Why? Because these groups were most susceptible to subprime lending. So we hit that first, and we went through that. Now we are on a mission to build back home ownership as a way to build generational wealth. There are all kinds of reasons as to why over the last 30 and 40 years that the Urban League is in that. And one of those was a lot of the barriers that were put up that prevented African Americans from getting GI loans when they returned from the military. It's historical, okay? So rather than go back through all of the reasons why we are focused on it now, that's because when we did move a generation into home ownership, far too many of our African Americans lost homes and faced foreclosure. Now we're building back. But we're doing this two-pronged. One is, if the goal is to create financial wealth, you have to have financial stability. And what we do at the Urban League, it used to be called financial literacy. Adults say, well, if you're going to give me, if you imply that I need financial literacy, you're implying that I'm illiterate. What we are doing now is we are doing coaching, and we're doing financial education, okay? And when we say coaching, we have a lot of people who may have the means to pay a mortgage, but they don't have the means to do insurance and maintenance and all those other things. So in the financial education piece, all of the aspects of financial coaching comes into being a homeowner, getting the broader view, not just I can make the monthly payment. It is much more than that. An educated consumer is a better consumer, and then those who will not be back into subprime lending or whatever. So even last year, even during COVID, the Urban League had 300 people in our first-time homebuyers class, meaning people who were interested, but we had 112 who actually bought homes. That's really good, 112 people. We had 68 who completed our financial coaching jobs and the coaching training to position themselves, whether it's this year, next year, or even 3 years from now, you're better prepared for home ownership. Not only to achieve it, but to retain it.
Yeah, another avenue to building wealth is business ownership as well. I know the Urban League most recently has been working with the Randy Boyd and the stadium development to promote the use of African American and minority-owned firms in that construction. I know the Urban League has done other things as well as work on stadium with that.
Right.
Talk a little bit about the importance of building and actually rebuilding in many ways the business community within the African American community.
Right. So one of the things I want to say is, in this endeavor with the multi-use stadium project, the Urban League was building upon the work that we had been doing since 1986. That's when we began training with minority contractors, doing both micro lending and lending to help African Americans get procurement contracts and to establish businesses. We were essential when the empowerment zone came to Knoxville to manage the empowerment zone project. We leveraged that to become a CDFI, a community development financial institution, which provides us through a partnership with the U.S. Treasury to bring capital to undercapitalized and historically marginalized communities. So we had those things in place so that when the multi-use stadium project came about, we were approached by Randy Boyd and Jim Development, Steve Davis, and other investors to become partners with them because of our history and expertise. And so a lot of people think that that just came out of the blue. Those investors looked at what we had been doing and how we could enhance those efforts to do three things. The Urban League is engaged in the project in three ways. Number one, to get small minority businesses, especially those that are focused in East Knoxville, to be engaged in the stadium project. What we have done with that is it's a huge project, and a lot of small businesses may not have the capacity to bid or compete. What our strategy was to either team or partner or help build that capacity so that people could compete for those bids. And so since January of 2021, the Urban League has had numerous technical assistance for businesses to make sure that they have license, bonding, all those kinds of things. But we've made connections, which is one of the things that we got from our survey that was equally as important. If I have a 5-member team, it may not give me the capacity, but if I partner with others, then we develop a group that can compete. So that was one part, making sure that there were, and removing barriers like license and bonding and insurance. We've worked with SBA, we've worked with people all over the state of Tennessee, the city and the county to put people in the position so that they could be. The second piece is both that for construction, but the second piece would also, there's going to be vendors and procurement. There's opportunities outside of construction. We want to make sure that we tap into that. We call that bucket number 2. And then bucket number 3 is workforce. Those that need training to compete for the construction jobs. I want to emphasize that the Urban League is about the long haul, not the one and done. And by that, our goal is to get people trained so that they can get sustainable jobs with a livable wage in the construction industry. Because once the stadium is built, there's other development that's going to be going on in this area. Just like even if you just look at the University of Tennessee campus, they've got $1 billion of capital projects for the next 10 to 12 years that they're going to need workers. Ours is to provide people with the tools and skills so that they can compete for a lifetime, not for one job. And so we were really clear with the Gym Group and the investors what the Urban League's mission was. Yes, we want to participate in that, but to really address families in poverty and lifting people to economic self-sufficiency, we had to make sure that they could obtain work and keep working going forward. That was one of the things that I think we agreed on first. So the Urban League has worked to create a pre-apprenticeship program with the state of Tennessee, and we are also certified with the U.S. Department of Labor Office of Apprenticeships. Being part of the multi-use stadium project enabled us to work toward that so that we will be able to help people, not just for the short term, but for the long term. And there will be workers at the stadium There will be people in East Knoxville that will be able to walk to work. Transportation has always been an issue, but having this project within the community will allow more people to become part of the project through employment, and we're also going to be helping with that. So we have our hands in three big buckets.
One other thing of the many different things that you've been engaged in that I wanted to hit on is the Knox County Schools' efforts to address inequities, disparities in education and discipline within Knox County Schools. And I know you've been part of that basically from the beginning. That process has been going on for 8 years or so. What are your thoughts on where that process is? What has it done or what has it not done that you wish it had accomplished? And, you know, we have a new superintendent coming in. I guess, what are your thoughts or hopes for the future of that effort?
So personally, I am the child of two public educators who I was determined, like a preacher's kid, I'm not going into that. And I taught in public education 11 years. It is in my DNA. And so if we are going to be advocates for equity, it certainly begins in the education of our youth. And so the Urban League has always been around the fringes of helping or being engaged with Knox County Schools. In fact, I've worked with the last 4, and now with Dr. Ricewick, the last 5 superintendents in some way to address disparities in education. Under Superintendent Jim McIntyre, we really focused on disparities in education outcomes that were due to suspensions and expulsions. What Knox County administration did is they pulled back the curtain, and we were able to find data that we also compared with what was sent to the state and to the federal Department of Education to look at our disparities. And we began first with expulsions and in-school suspensions. And it was alarming to see the data. And this was in 2000. I think we began in 2014 and finished in 2016. And I wanted to give that context because my parents are teachers. I taught, got lots of family members. But what we found is that even with the data, a lot of people didn't want to believe this is who we really are. I'm showing the data, but this is who we really are. And we often hear that people say, well, there was nothing wrong. I graduated from Knox County Schools. I'm doing all right. It was good enough for me. And that was the attitude that we had. And so as we worked deeper and we worked with experts across the nation who were addressing and making it one of our biggest barriers is not accepting the truth about who we are and what we were doing, and the miseducation of our students of color, especially our African-American males at that time, because that was our highest. So let me move forward. So under Superintendent Bob Thomas, Bob's commitment was to continue the work. And we had about 30 recommendations from the task force. There were some that were real easy and we could check off, but at the top of it was cultural competency. And we had a very difficult time with our school board. And so now that I'm walking out the door, I'm going to call it like I see it. We had a difficult time when we have a school board member says, I've taught here for 32 years and never seen a hint of racism or anything like that. Well, I don't know where he was living. But when we refuse to accept, then that means we don't have the buy-in to improve or look forward. Cultural competency by this very diverse, very inclusive across industry, community, race, gender, ethnicity, all came together and said, we've got to get everybody who touches the lives of our students to understand about culture, be culturally competent. Knox County even changed the word and didn't want to use competency. I keep using it because I want to hammer home how we're going to massage it to make us feel better as opposed to taking care of the problem. I think we are making a little progress because we certainly not where we were. Are we as far along as we should be? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I've been at every meeting, every town hall. I'm fully committed because those who were initially with us have moved on. Some people get weary in their doing, and I can't do that. I've got to be the one that says, we said we were going to do this. We have gotten away from looking at discipline as one of the things that needs to be done. I will say there are things that we have improved on. They have so many things. One is setting up. We have on the administrative level people who are working in communities within the school. What do they call them? Development communities, or learning centers within each district, each school, to improve. Rather than everybody shifting together, I think principals are taking ownership, and I'm gonna move my team under Dr. Ricewick. What my expectation is, and I served on his transition team. Had many conversations with him over the years through that. My expectation is that we will hold him accountable for making equity and inclusion a thread of his administration. I find it difficult that our school board refused to even consider a diversity and inclusion, a DEI policy. That's us not recognizing what we need to do. When you do it is not saying, I don't know if people feel like we're blaming. No, we're saying this because this gives us a lens to move forward that we can all agree on. And our school board refused. After I attended all those, made personal pleas, sent information. I sat on a national team on diversity, equity, and inclusion that helped to guide the ESSER federal grant. And there were 10 states that were chosen to be in this leadership academy, and Tennessee was one of them. But it's disheartening when you work so hard and people are not seeing the value of what we need to be. How does that relate going forward? Every district in America is trying to increase the diversity of their teacher workforce. Everybody is, because fewer people of color are entering the education field because they bought onto the STEM, and engineering also should stand for education. But we've said, well, it feels good to do it, but you don't get paid. Well, we got to stop that message. Veterinarians are a good example. They do it because they love it too, and they figure out a way to monetize it. But my point is, when the limited number of students who are preparing for the field of education look out, and they have a lot of places to choose from, and you look at Knox County, and the school board refuses to adopt an equity policy, why would you want to go there?
Phyllis, one of the things I think that, and I think it should come across to our listeners, this interview is you've been doing a lot of stuff and bringing a lot of energy to the Knoxville Area Urban League for a lot of years. How in the world are you going to be able to retire? Just from how are you going to go from going 100 miles an hour to slowing down? How are you going to slow down?
So I will never lose my voice for advocacy. I don't have to do it all. And I don't have to be the drum major. I can be part of the band. I think it's time for me to be part of the band because we have people in our community who have the energy and as much passion as I do, who need the opportunity to step up. I have, like everybody else, I've had mentors in my professional career, and I remember one person says, to do our work, you have to have passion and you got to have energy. And my passion will never wane, but I can't do the 7:30 in the morning to 9 o'clock and sit at a county commission or a city council meeting for 6 hours anymore. I don't have that energy. I got the passion for it. So I think that we're going to do that. I don't believe that you pass a baton. I believe you take your candle and light another candle, because what happens then, now we have 2 candles instead of 1 and 1. So I contend that I will still be an advocate, but I don't have to be the leader of the band. I can get in line with the others. I will, I need to take some time. I have 4 granddaughters that we just came back from a family vacation, and, like a lot of people, I miss stuff, and I'm determined that I need to spend more time. 2 of my granddaughters are developmentally challenged, and I want to spend some time with them. I want to do some things. My daughters both have amazing careers, and they call me all the time. As Phyllis Nichols, the CEO, I want to be Phyllis Nichols' mom, and Yaya. So I'm looking forward to it, but you'll still see me around.
Yeah, I think we'd be surprised if we didn't. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and congratulations, I guess, on moving forward. And obviously, I think Scott and I both have a lot of respect for everything that you've done in the community here.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate the compass. It's the first thing I look at in the morning, because if I get caught in emails, I don't have the time to look at the compass. So I really do look at that first, then I look at emails.
We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. And you'll have our best wishes as you move forward in the next phase, as you said, light the candle for somebody else.
Right. And I just want to say that the Urban League has a tremendous board of directors. And somebody said, oh, what are you going to do when you leave? Look, my board has not helped to build this institution that they will turn around and not maintain it. And not, so we have, the Urban League will continue as strong as ever. We're looking for an innovative, energetic leader that will be able to take us to the next level. And I'm going to be here through the transition and onboarding, and so the Urban League will continue.
Thank you for listening to this bonus episode of Compass Points. Please like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget, for more in-depth coverage, go to CompassKnox.com and subscribe today. This episode is recorded by Lord Seth A. Barber at Barbarian Studios, Knoxville, Tennessee.